Cheers, my friends. Happy Wednesday, wherever you are in the world. I saw some people drop some New Jersey, some Miami, some Tampa, but let us know where you are if you haven't already so that we can all know where everybody's coming from. I'll go first. I'm still in Austin, Texas, if you couldn't tell that I'm sitting outside. And I'm pretty proud. I got a new coffee mug, everybody. Create your own story, which I thought was pretty fitting considering the guests that we have joining us today. So if you guys did not stalk ahead of time, which as you can tell, I'm always encouraging the stalking of people before you meet them, you know, good old little Google search before you meet with somebody. So if you haven't done the Google stalking, which hopefully you did, but if you didn't, I'll catch you up really quick. We are meeting with one of my dear friends and super talented human, Jim Kwik. He is a memory and speed reading expert. He is a podcast host. He's a best-selling author. He's an international speaker. I mean, are you tired yet? I'm tired just listening to all of this. I don't know how he does it, but we're going to learn. And he's going to teach us so much all about himself and his journey and his company, Kwik Learning, which is also his last name and also not fake. That is the real deal. So I'm really excited to have everybody here, and I'm really excited to welcome Jim to the party. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Kim. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? What's in your cup today?
I'm actually doing tea today. It's like a brain tea. I make it myself. It's just like gotu kola, ginkgo, some lion's mane, MCT oil.
Okay, so I am not a coffee drinker. I'm only a tea drinker. And now I feel really lame that I only have peach matcha.
No,
that sounds way better than what I have.
Wait, isn't this coffee with Kim?
I know, but it's a little bit of a bait and switch, right? No, it started because everyone would ask for coffee meetings. And I didn't have the heart to say like, I don't drink coffee. So I would just be like, yeah, we'll go to a coffee meeting. And then I would secretly get a tea.
I love that. Yeah, I'll send you the ingredients are in the book. I'll certainly send it to you.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. I mean, there's so much to cover. I don't even know. And I'm just excited to see you. Because last time I saw you, like, I'm used to seeing you like in real life.
Yeah.
So this is new.
This is real treat.
Our new pandemic.
Yeah.
Pandemic lifestyle. So do you have this special magic brain tea every morning?
No, I vary it up, but I'm definitely more tea than coffee for sure. And so.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you and just some of our close friends here.
I know we have so many amazing friends joining us. It's like the best meeting of my week every single week. But I've been so excited to talk with you because you've been doing so much. I feel like most people in the pandemic are like ramping down, but with the book launch in April and everything, like I feel like you're actually more busy in a global pandemic. How is that?
I mean, how's everyone coping with this? It feels weird, right? Like are you working from home? Are you living at work? Or I think days tend to blend together or maybe go really fast. And one of the reasons why is we don't have those things, talk about memory. We don't have those things that stand out, you know, in terms of how we're doing social gatherings and, you know, certain things. So we need those landmarks. But it's been an adventure for sure.
Totally. And how has it been launching? For everybody that doesn't know, Jim's book came out in April. It's amazing. Here's a fun story. I have my physical copy in New York. Obviously, I'm not in New York. So then I bought it again on the Kindle. I might buy it again for the audiobook. Why not just buy all the versions, everybody, because it's so great. But I know that traditionally when somebody launches a book, you know, the traditional route is, you do all these in-person appearances and readings and stories. So how has that been for you? Like not been, I mean, you worked so hard on this baby, you know, this amazing book. And then in April, like Simba, you like put it out to the world and then you can't go and see anybody in person.
Just like Simba. Especially this is my first book after 29 years of teaching speed reading, memory enhancement, focus. So it was, the publisher actually gave us an opportunity say that, hey, do you want to move this to the fall because of everything that's going on? But I thought, hey, this book is more than a book just on speed reading and learning languages and remembering people's names. This is a book that's really timely right now. How to manage your mind in times of crisis, how to regain your focus or productivity when you're working from home, how to support kids if they're in and out of school, how to learn a new subject or new skill rapidly in case your job's been disrupted, your career. And so, I had 35 speaking engagements and Milken Conference, South by Southwest, all these platforms for the book, a whole Barnes and Noble book tour, and every single thing was canceled. Not one was kept. So we did it all online through our podcast and through our community and great supporters. And we were very fortunate. It was an instant New York Times bestseller, #1 on Wall Street Journal. And it's just there. It's just, I think it's just more of a sign of the times in terms of what people, I think we're in the millennium of the mind. People, like, the book is called Limitless, right? It's a pretty inspiring title. But people ask, how do you become limitless in a limited world? And I really think the answer is we do it together. And, so it's about unlocking the mindset, the motivation and the methods for not only learning anything faster, but really, Limitless is not about being perfect. It's about progressing and advancing beyond what you believe is possible. And so we had to use those same principles, and pivot.
I was about to say, because I feel like, so much of your book and the podcast is all about exactly what you said, how people can kind of strengthen their mind and strengthen their reserve, especially in this time of crisis. Did you find that you were almost using more techniques? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, as much as you've been doing this for 29 years, you're still a human being. And canceling 35 speaking engagements that I'm sure you were really excited about is hard. And that's tough. So, I mean, how did you, were you relying on your own advice, like in the book, to cope in real time?
We control the controllables, right? And so I feel like it's so important to put our agent in the book. I have a quote. My favorite quote in the book is actually, I know it. That it is, life is, it's from a French philosopher saying, life is the C between B and D. Life is C between B and D. B is birth, D is death, C is choice. I believe these difficult times can define us. These difficult times can diminish us, or these difficult times can develop us. We ultimately decide. And so it's taking responsibility, having agency over our the most important thing, which is our mind nowadays. And so everyone who's watching this right now, our life is a reflection of our decisions and our mindset. And nobody who's watching this is paid for their brute strength. It's your brain strength, right? It's not your muscle power, it's your mind power. And yet more people spend time and energy upgrading their technologies, their laptop or their phone or their apps, but not the most important technology that controls everything, which is the human brain. And so I made this as an owner's manual for our brains so that we could catch up, keep up, and get ahead in these competitive and turbulent times.
Which is exactly what we need right now. Absolutely. And I'm curious because obviously people have been bugging you to make this book for a while. That's no secret. I mean, you can go back and see people tweeting at Jim, write a book. I mean, people have been wanting this for a while. So I'm curious when did you make the switch from, okay, I myself am learning all of this over the course of 29 years. And again, hopefully everybody's Google stalked your story, but if not, I won't spoil it. Read the book, get the podcast, you'll learn it. It's amazing. How did you switch from I myself am learning all these techniques to, okay, I'm going to now teach and educate people on those techniques?
So when people see me at events or stalk, I never thought about that, stalking on Google and social media, I do these demonstrations in front of audiences, and I'll have 50 or 100 people stand up and I'll memorize all their names, which is a useful tool and ability in business. 100 words, 100 numbers. And I always tell people, I don't do this to impress you. I do this to express to you what's really possible, because the truth is every single person who's watching this, they could do that and more even, regardless of your age or your background, your education level. It's all possible. That there's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's a trained memory and an untrained memory.
Which is so powerful. Like that in and of itself is so hopeful and powerful.
Yeah, they say about 1/3 of our memory is predetermined by genetics and biology, but 2/3 is in our control. So the majority of it, but the thing is you need to understand how your memory works so you can work your memory. I believe two of the most costly words in business, like in life, are I forgot. I forgot to do it. I forgot to bring it. I forgot that meeting. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot that conversation. I forgot that person's name. I mean, think about it. Every time we say or think those words, we lose opportunity, we lose respect, we lose trust, credibility. And remember,
or just memories. Like I forget distinct memories where people will be like, "Where were you when you made $1 million in revenue in your business?" And I was like,
right.
I think I was in my apartment, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
Cannot remember.
Yeah. So it's not just memorizing facts, figures, and foreign languages. I think you want a great memory to remember things like your life. If your life is worth living, it's worth remembering. Your loved ones, remembering the lessons. I tend to alliterate everything to make it memorable, but the lessons in our life, because some people, they hire the same kind of people or they date the same kind of people and they make the same mistakes, but they're not learning. So you want to remember those lessons also as well.
Well, and I think you make such a good point of kind of like exercising your mind. And like my favorite part of the book and podcasts is whatnot is when you do go into food and the stuff you're putting in your body and because that is, you're right. People spend millions of dollars on plastic surgery or on personal chefs or on diet. I'm on the paleo plan. I'm on the this plan. You know, they're optimizing their physical health so much. And it's like, what about your brain? Like, where's the work out there? Or where's like the attention to? And I think so much of it, as you talk about, is outsourced to this.
Yeah.
This deadly little device where it's like, well, I don't have to remember birthdays because this just pings me on Facebook when everybody's birthday is.
Right. Yeah. We talk about in the book, it's some of the four supervillains, if you were, that's driven by technology. That's just making it a little bit more difficult. It's very convenient in a lot of ways, but it can be also very crippling. Digital deluge, too much information, too little time. It feels like we're taking a sip of water out of a fire hose nowadays. So we're drowning in information. That's why we teach speed reading, teach people how to study better, learn technical information better. Digital distraction. I mean, you think about every ring, ping, ding, app notification, social media alert. It's like we're driven to distraction. And how do you maintain your concentration, to get things done? And then you have digital deduction, which is a term I coined in the book, basically saying that our smart device is doing all the thinking for us. It has algorithms that presents us to, usually just one thing that we're engaging with the most. So we never get to see another point of view. It does our recommendations and everything else. And we never have children now. They're not, when they're tested for their analytical ability, it's not as strong as previous generations. And they're suggesting it's because of technology. This technology is telling you a lot what to think. And then finally, what you're alluding to, digital dementia. It's your phone is your external memory, drive. It keeps your to-dos, it keeps your calendars. It does. How many phone numbers did you know growing up? How many phone numbers?
So many more than I know now. No, I mean, it's the digital stuff is really, it's tough. And I think it makes us a lot weaker than, like, people think that, oh, it's so great, digital can help us so much. But I also think that it ends up hurting us in the long term. And so I'm curious, because you talk a lot about digital distractions in the book. And I know we know somebody in common, Blake Myosky, who founded Tom's. He has a new company, if anybody's heard of it, called Made For. And so his is all about like almost a digital detox. They send you things in the mail and each month is like a new thing, but it's sort of to get you away from these little guys. Do you think that that's a trend? I mean, that's obviously just one company, one startup, but do you think we're going to see more startups in this kind of anti-digital space?
So again, from my stance for it is it's not good. It's not just like good or bad technology. It's just how it's applied and utilized. Fire is technology, so you could use it to cook your food or it could burn down your home. And my biggest concern with technology is how these four forces are making us less productive, performing less. It's stressing us out, giving us less peace of mind and less productivity. And use it when it's convenient. It's just the reliance on it, or when we're touching our phones out of habit. That's a big challenge, right? Technology is a tool for us to use, But if we're just touching it out of habit, then the technology is using us. Then who becomes the tool? Then then we become the tool. And so I would say that it's just like your brain is like a muscle. It's use it or lose it. And that's why I always wear like these shirts with brains. I'm always pointing to my temple to point to a brain, because what you see, you take care of. Generally you see your hair, you see your car, you see your clothes, you generally, it reminds you to take care of it, but we don't see the most important thing, which takes care of us all the time, which is our brain. So I always want to just present that for people to fall in love with their brain. I think it was Warren Buffett said that, hey, if you're 16 years old, what if you got the car of your choice? But here's the thing, you had to stick with that car for the rest of your life. How well would you take care of that car? Well, we have this vehicle called our body, which part of our body is a brain, and we get one in this lifetime. So we should take care of it. So a big focus on, and here's the other thing, like if it's like our body, if we just rely on Lyft and Uber to go 6 blocks, instead of walking, if we rely on an elevator or an escalator to take us up 3 floors instead of taking the stairs, there's a physical toll. If I put my arm in a sling for 6 months, it wouldn't grow stronger. It wouldn't even stay the same. It would just atrophy. And that's what we're seeing with these digital challenges, this digital dementia. And people could say, and I train at Facebook, I train at Google. People could say, why do I need to remember anything? It's all on a search engine somewhere. And I even had that question, at my last training at Google. And I said, well, it's wonderful that you're organizing all this information, but going back to this premise that our life is like the sum total of all the decisions and choices that we've made up to this point, we can only make a good decision based on the knowledge that we have and at hand. And that means presupposes that we remembered it, right? That if we lost half of our memory, for instance, half the words, half the people, half the know everything, we wouldn't be very effective. But imagine if you could remember twice as much in a fraction of the time, how much more effective you would be.
Well, it'd be huge. And like, I think one of the things that I feel like people always ask you about, ask it again here, is if you already know, maybe it's something like dyslexia, or maybe it's something that you're already battling the digital sort of handicap, because we are turning to digital things for everything. But then you also might be dealing with, some other things that you have to hurdle past. How does one, is it just a mindset? Is it specific techniques that are different for different people, or do the same techniques work for everybody?
So that's a great question. I believe it's not how smart we are. A lot of people ask, how smart am I? How smart is my team? How smart are my children? It's not how smart you are. It's really, how are you smart? Is a more empowering question. It's not how smart you are. It's how are you smart?
How are you smart?
We've done episodes on ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, and I take a very strength-based approach. It's not something I specialize in. I'm not a medical doctor. But we have a lot of students. We went online. We've been online for almost a decade and a half. We have this like online academy, and so we have students in 195 countries. So we have a lot of data in terms of what's working for individuals. And the idea here is just like for your body, if you prioritize your sleep, if you move, if you ate good foods, everyone would get some kind of benefit from it. And the same with our minds. There are things that are universal. And then there's certainly things that are preference related, and we're all a little bit bio-individual. So you have to get a little micro with some individuals. Some people prefer to learn things by seeing it. Others prefer to hear it. Other people like to roll up their sleeves and get involved in it. But what
are you? I'm visual. I know that.
Yeah.
What are you?
For me, I'm actually more auditory. It's kind of interesting. So things that I hear, but I mean, we're all blended. I mean, it's like we could categorize, but the more we use, though, the more enhanced an experience we will.
So then, do you listen to books on tape as opposed to reading them, or?
I do when I can't read them. I always prefer. It's interesting to read. Because I think reading is to your mind what exercise is to your body. It's just like the best ever. They find that actually people, when they're tested for comprehension and retention for an audiobook, for example, is it audiobook or print book or Kindle or tablet, that people actually get better retention from reading it and understanding. And one of the reasons why is usually when someone's listening to something, they're usually doing something else. They're usually driving, they're usually cleaning their home, they're usually working out. And so they're multitasking a little bit. So that's where the discrepancy is. But for
I
me,
have a rule where all of my fun books,
yeah,
like my Harry Potter, like books that don't necessarily make you smart, but that are fun, I listen to on audio.
yeah,
But if it's an actual book that I'm like, okay, it's Ray Dalio's Principles and I have to like get in there, I need it. I can't listen to audio.
yeah,
I have to like dig into it in
I feel you. I feel
real
you.
form.
Yeah, and the great thing is you can improve all these different areas also as well. And by the way, reading, J.K. Rowling's latest book, any of the fiction reading is actually great for your intelligence. It boosts creativity, it boosts imagination, high level. It actually has been shown to improve EQ, emotional intelligence, things like empathy through storytelling, seeing things from other people's point of view. And so it's a wonderful exercise. I used to have a book that was like, I used to have, my library was like 90% nonfiction, but it's been skewing more, more balanced.
I feel like I sometimes feel guilty when I read like the fun books. I'm like, oh, I should be really reading like a smart book.
Right.
But sometimes they just get in there and I'm like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah. Well, this is me giving everyone permission. It's okay. Usually when people read those fun books, they're on a beach somewhere or it's kind of reserved for, special occasions. But I would say, yeah, I actually like to read fiction right before I go to bed. Like I don't want to read something that's very heady, that gets me in my executive brain when I'm about to kind of wind down. But a good fiction book will do it for sure.
No, I love that. I love this question from Jim. Since deep memories are attached to emotions, do you associate an emotion to a deeply important piece of information?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that information combined with emotion becomes a long-term memory, and we remember things that make us feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Maya Angelou quotes that people will forget what you say, they'll forget what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so important to remember things about people, because it's hard to show someone you're going to care for their business, their future, everything, if you don't care enough just to remember them. But when we add emotion to it, I mean, think about it. There must be people who are watching, there must be a song that can take you back to when you're a teenager. Right? Because the information combined with the emotion became unforgettable. Or maybe it's a fragrance, or maybe it's a food. It can take you back to when you're a child. So I would say
Totally.
So when you add when you listen to something, most people are learning through podcasts or they're having a Zoom lecture, they could hear it. But if you could see it and also feel it, you're more likely to remember it. And so we do these exercises where we add emotions, and we can do a couple exercises, teach people how to remember even those brain foods really quickly using emotion. And if we make it a little interactive, and yeah, but absolutely remembering by adding emotion to it, remember it better.
And then I'm curious because I feel like you obviously reference teaching people all the time, and you do these seminars at Google, at Facebook, one-on-ones with all the celebrities and all the names, all the who's who. But do you yourself have a coach, or do you yourself have a mentor that helps you?
Yes, of course. I have coaches and mentors in so many categories in my life. And so I have a voice coach, somebody that helps me because I speak a lot for a living. And so the worst thing that could happen is I lose my voice. I have health coaches. I have a sleep coach who's tremendous, because I talk about in my book, I had very severe sleep apnea.
Yeah.
I stopped breathing to over 200 times a night. And I would wake up kind of suffocating. Each time is over 10 seconds. So it's like somebody coming in and putting a pillow over your face 200 times. I would also, because I was actually a very challenged learner in school until about age 18, I would pull all these all-nighters, and that was developing really bad habits, sleep habits. I would be jet lag all the time because I would be in 3 countries or continents in 1 week, which is insane. When you wake up in a hotel room and you're a memory expert, you don't remember what city you're in. But those time zone changes and the not being in your own bed. So I have a sleep coach, a voice coach, a business coach, to help.
Wow.
So
Well, I feel better because sometimes when you see people like you that are so on top of their game, and so you're like, oh, they're perfect. Like they never need any help. They have it all together.
No, I think mentoring, having a coach, a LinkedIn coach, any kind of coach to be able to support you in an area is the fastest way to accelerate. That's why, in the beginning where I couldn't afford coaches, I would go to a library and get books, because if somebody has decades of experience, in or like a Ray Dalio or any of these individuals, they put into a book, and you can sit down in a few days and read that book, and you can download decades in the days. And that's why, this teaching people not just speed reading, but smart reading is so important, because a lot of people are really great at buying books, but buying a book is a different skill set than reading a book.
Right.
So I just,
thing there, you actually have to read it.
right. The lie is that we hear all the time is that knowledge is power. But the truth is knowledge is potential power at best. It only becomes power when we use it and we apply it. Because a lot of people buy books and it sits on your shelf. And I don't know who I'm talking to about this right now, who is watching, but it becomes shelf help, not self-help. And the reason why you don't read it, I'll tell people, because for most people, reading is boring, it's difficult, it's tedious, because we're not good at it.
Right.
Because we weren't taught how to read in a way.
It's the same thing with people who don't like cooking.
Exactly.
They're like, it's too hard.
For anything, like why would you want to do something that you're not great at, right? And so, and reading is a skill. It's something we weren't born with, right? And so,
totally.
But how old were we the last time we took a class called reading? We were like 7 years old. And so most people are still reading like a 6 or 7 year old, and the difficulty and the demand has increased, tremendously. But how we read it is the same. And so when you learn how to read in a way where you're focused, you understand what you read, you're going through it a lot quicker than you would, and still enjoying it, then it's a different experience.
100. So when you had all these coaches, the voice coach, the sleep coach, okay, so 2 questions. One, which coach do you think was the most helpful? I'm sure they were all helpful, but which was the most helpful? And then which one, selfishly for me, do you still struggle with? Like, are you still like, ugh, not the voice coach again? Ooh.
Right. And so again, the power of mentors is a wonderful way to fast track our success. Having somebody to hold you accountable, have someone there to challenge you, having someone there to keep you consistent. Right. So I would say coaches, because they challenge you, they give you capabilities, they also help you remain consistent, hopefully give you a sense of community. That's what we're looking to do with our clients, is to be that for them, for a brain, as a brain coach or a mental coach, if you will. But I think people need that for the areas that they think they really need to develop. For me, sleep was such a big kryptonite for me for so long. So I have a couple of sleep coaches that I still kind of go to when because we all have areas, we all have.
Right.
This is the thing, especially now. Like, I really do believe that's why I think kindness is such a superpower, because you never know, like, the battles people are facing. Like for 5 years while I was traveling around the world, I'm in front of 200,000 people live a year in a typical year. And you never know what, like, I was sleeping 90 minutes a night total, it wasn't because my brain was busy. I would fall asleep immediately. It's, I have very good, practice there, but I just couldn't breathe. And I would use a CPAP device and a dental device and all this stuff. I had surgery at UCLA, very painful, where they removed my uvula, my soft palate, my tongue.
Well, and if you don't sleep, it's like the equivalent of being drunk. Like, you shouldn't drive a car. Like, you certainly shouldn't be speaking in front of 200,000 people.
Right, exactly.
That's for sure.
And so sleep is something, I mean, that's when you're not sleeping, it impairs everything, in your life. And so that's kind of like a big life tip, right? Is to manage your sleep. But I still have, a trainer come by, and for me, my exercise of choice is sparring, because it's just something that's physical, and it kind of puts my mind into it. But, other people could do ballroom dancing, a lot of great exercises to do. That's actually really a lot of brain benefits. As your body moves, your brain grooves. And not just doing, your Pilates or CrossFit, Soul Cycle 2 or 3 times a week, but just moving, because we're behind screens all the time. I'm doing a lot of interviews on, like, Zoom fatigue and all this other stuff, where it's just get up and move, because your brain needs it.
Well, and you need it. And sometimes it can be a distraction to not work out. It's like, oh, well, I'll vacuum, or, oh, well, I'll do something else, especially now that we're home so much. So I'm curious, one, for everybody to answer, but also for you to answer, like, what is your biggest sort of distraction right now that you're like, I keep getting sidetracked with this thing?
Yeah. And so, when we're looking at a word like distraction, it's what's taking you away from having traction in your life and the things that really that matter. Because I actually think that Netflix can be great if you're using that time to decompress, to just entertain, to be entertained and everything else. But if it's taking you away from things that are important, then we have to maybe reevaluate that and have some self-awareness around it. For me personally, I don't know if this is a distraction, but I've been watching a bunch of stand-up because I think in my mind I want to. I'm just seeing all these signs of serendipity, maybe the synchronicities that I want to do like a 5-minute set and here's the thing, because I'm like almost terrified of it.
I love that.
It's something that's just, I haven't really put any thought into it, but I feel like compelled. And then whenever I feel like, oh, I don't know if I could do this, then I get really like, I have to do it.
I have to do this.
Yeah, especially, before COVID in New York City, it's just, I have so many great stand-up clubs in New York and LA, and just overcome that kind of thing, even though I'm used to being in front of an audience, that would be a different context. And so I've been watching a bunch of that on YouTube and Netflix, and I want to just, it sounds like something challenging and fun to do.
I'd be so.
What are you distracting yourself with nowadays?
Oh, I mean, so many things. I think lately I was doing like kind of moving my body every morning, like waking up early and saying, okay, whether it's a walk or a run or yoga or whatever, like I'm going to move my body. And then I started not doing it because I started to be like, well, I'll just sleep a little more. And it was sort of the self-talk of like, well, sleep is healthy too. So I'm kind of just swapping like one good thing with another good thing. But then there was like a 2-week stretch where I'm like, okay, you need sleep, but you don't need this much sleep. Get up, move your body. Like you need to do that. So I would say sleep for me has been sort of a weird distraction. And funny enough, Josh just asked this question, what is the best tip or method from your sleep coach? Which it sounds like you should answer that, but maybe I should cover my ears.
So you don't
not sleep anymore. Really and instead get up and work out.
Yeah, I'll give you a number. And I think, again, different things move the needle for different people. For me, number one, getting on a schedule is so important because your body, just like the rest of your brain, just like the rest of your body, appreciates that structure and that rhythm. And so on the weekends, not sleeping in, still doing that. Getting 10 minutes of direct sunlight first thing in the morning, if your climate, if it allows where you live to be able to get that sun, because it kind of resets your circadian rhythm. No talk about coffee and tea, no caffeine past 2 p.m. because like coffee could stay in your system for a good 8 hours. And some people are ultra sensitive to that. Other people can drink it like right before bed and it doesn't faze them, but I'm not one of those individuals. No. Dark room is very important. It's surprising. Some people are very sensitive to light and they don't know it. And so having blackout curtains, even covering the alarm, some people are just really sensitive to that.
Wow.
Not looking at your screens.
I know. Okay, well, let's talk about this for a second. So there's so many products with like the blue light glasses, or I saw one called iJust that's like a thing that you can put on. I mean, what are we doing? Are we buying into this? Is it hype? Or do you do it? If you do it, I'll do it.
Yeah, they have Flux and Iris and all these apps. They have night mode on your phone. The idea here is that for people who are new to this idea is that the blue light from screens, from your tablet, from your laptop, from your phone, it mimics the daylight and it makes you feel like it's still daylight outside, even though it's not. So you're not secreting the melatonin to help you relax and phase into that restful sleep. And so some people will either change it on their screen or they'll use some kind of blue blocker glasses so it doesn't affect them, like this red or yellow tinted glasses. And some people don't even look at it. For me, I can't look at this. It's easier for me to have the phone not in my bedroom. And I know that's a hard ask for people, but it fixes to 2 issues. I have a video with Simon Sinek online, has 27 million views. And it's just me saying, don't touch
just a few.
Don't touch your phone the first half an hour of the day. And so that having the phone out of the bedroom, it just makes it, and I'm not saying it's easy, but having an analog clock there and just kind of, and the reason why is number one, if you pick up your phone the first half an hour a day, like it rewires your brain when you're in that relaxed state. Number one, for distraction, meaning every app notification, social media message, text, all this stuff. It's just like, share, comments, cat videos, whatever you watch, whatever you're doing is just, that dopamine fix, right? So it's training our distraction. You're flexing that first thing in the morning. You wonder why you can't focus in a meeting or in a conversation, because you're building your distraction muscles. Number two, you're rewiring your brain not only for distraction, you're rewiring your brain for reaction, which is almost as challenging, meaning you're on the defense. All these messages that you're getting, you're just responding to people and reacting to people. And I don't think anyone could have a quality, fulfilling day and get as much as they could get done, important things, if they're just reacting to things. A friend, Brendan Burchard, who wrote Motivation Manifesto, said, your inbox is nothing but a convenient organizational system for other people's agenda for your life. I mean, just think about it. And so that's why with technology, again, I use it. I use it, I'm not perfect at it, and then the goal is not perfect. It's just to find something that works for you in harmony and balance with your life. But for me, it's just easier to control my environment than using willpower. It's kind of like if we're at a restaurant and let's say I have a glucose issue, like a gluten issue. And I just, they bring the bread there and you just think, well, I think I have a glucose issue too, like sugar. But you're thinking like, it's easier to say no once and say, no, thank you for the bread, instead of it sitting there and you have in your mind say no 20 times during a meal, and just even the stress. Simon has talked about this, having the phone at dinner, just on the table, even if it's face down, it still creates this anxiety, hole and it takes away from your presence. And again, I love to use technology however you want to be able to use it. Everyone has to make an individual choice. But for me, it's just easier if I have some kind of part of self-care is knowing when you say yes to somebody or something, you're not saying no to yourself, right?
Yes.
And then having borders and boundaries around your time, your emotions, your heart, around individuals or items also as well.
Well, and I feel like I caught myself because sometimes I get really excited about like podcasts I'm listening to and stuff. And so I would wake up in the morning and I'd be like, okay, I didn't check my email. So like, good job, me. But then as I'm brushing my teeth, I'd be like, well, let me just turn on that podcast. And so now I'm like, no podcast, like silence, like just silence. Because I think sometimes you're also inundated all the time that we don't really have quiet anymore. Because instead of having a quiet moment, it's like, oh, well, I'll pop on this podcast or this Quibi show or, watch a little bit of the Ozarks. And it's like, no, just have some quiet time.
Yeah. And it can be for you in the morning or sometime. I think everyone needs white space that's scheduled, where you could come up with ideas. You could be present for yourself. Even I have a lot of videos out there on my morning routine, and my morning routine, people don't have to do everything that I do, but it's really to get my mind right, to really kind of jumpstart my brain. But one of the things I talk about is just, I remember my dreams, I make my bed, because your brain loves a clean environment, and you train it for excellence, because how you do anything is how you do everything. Hydrate, which is important because you can lose up to 1 pound of water just through respiration and perspiration. And staying hydrated, by the way, improves your thinking speed and reaction time 30%. And so stay hydrated. But then like simple things like 3 minutes of exercise in the morning actually has been good for your sleep and other things, where they did a study at Appalachian State University saying, when's the best time to exercise? 7 a.m., 1 p.m., or 7 p.m. And they found for weight management and sleep, it's 7 a.m. But you don't have to do your whole workout, but just if you can do something for 8 minutes, just to get your heart beating, because what's good for your heart is going to be good for your head.
He was on your podcast recently, but Joe DeSena, for anybody that doesn't know, who started Spartan Race, he tried to make me do 10 burpees every morning. I'm not going to lie, y'all. I was not into the 10 burpees every morning. I did for 5 days, I loathed them. I was like, this. So now I have to wait an hour and maybe I do 5 burpees.
Yeah, I think that's better than anything. I think also kindness.
Did he try to make you do the burpees? He tries to make everybody do the burpees in the morning.
For a week before I did my interview with him, I carried around, I still have it right here, a kettlebell, for a week, because that's something he does. and he does a very, very specific reason. But I think I'm going to challenge myself. I think I'm going to. Have you done this part?
Wait, you carried it like in a backpack?
No, I'm actually carrying it around. So he carries around this kettlebell, a lot heavier than what I'm carrying around. But for that week, I wanted to be able to experiment and just kind of. I think it's important to get ourselves to do difficult things because it trains, not only the growth, but trains this level of grit. Doing things in the morning that because maybe if you do that, you have this grit to be able to do that hard sales call you need to do, or have that difficult conversation to fire somebody or terminate someone or something like that. Like for me, I'll brush my teeth with the opposite hand, and what that will do is it'll force me to be present. But also there's actually stimulates the other side of your brain. Yeah. I'm used to working out. We find that some of the great readers in our community, naturally, they tend to be play musical instrument, especially if it requires both hands, because it stimulates a different part of your brain. So using your opposite hand to eat or to brush your teeth, it not only builds the other part of your brain, but also it forces you to be present, because it's hard to do that and something else. And again, focus is not something you have, it's something you do. And you don't just wake up and say, I hope I have motivation, I hope I have energy, I hope I have creativity to blog today, I hope I have focus to concentrate. But these are things you do. And when you take a noun and you turn it into a verb, it gives you your agency back, it gives you your power back, because then you're not just hoping you have something that you don't have, and you could create it, through the process.
I feel like I like the suggestion of brushing your teeth with a different hand much better than the suggestion of 10 burpees every morning. So I'm going to go with that one.
Yeah. Or
that's the one that I'm going to start doing.
Or taking a cold shower too. It's one of those things where it's those things like, I know.
Wim's like, just jump in the ice bath. No, Wim, I'm not doing that. I'm not. It's too much.
Yeah,
it's too much.
I met Wim Hof over 7 years ago. We were speaking at an event in Boston together, and I've been doing the cold showers and the ice. I have ice, like a plunge pool here and everything.
You do it?
I do it every morning, and I grew up.
But do you skip it?
No, I do it. No, because here's the thing. So even if it's a cold shower and then not, in the cold, warm, it's good for your skin, it's good for your hair, it's good. Also, it resets your nervous system. Like cold therapy is pretty, like you hit your knee on a coffee table, you put ice on it, right? It reduces swelling, it reduces inflammations, and so, we have swelling, inflammation in our body and our brain. And so potentially taking the cold therapy could be supportive, and it's difficult. And I post a number of times on my Instagram, like I'll take a 4 or 5 minute completely full of ice bath. And here's the thing, I grew up in the Northeast. I hate the cold.
I hate the cold.
I really do. But I feel like it's important for me. I do this whole thing in the book on motivation. And I think there's a formula for sustainable motivation and the proof that we're motivated to do something. And this applies for yourself, this applies to your team, this applies to your customers, this applies to your children. There's 3 parts to motivation. It's P times E times S3. P times E times S3. Because the proof that we're motivated is not what we say, it's not what we feel. People could say they feel motivated, they are motivated, but the proof is they're consistently acting. So if it's working out, or it's taking an ice bath, or it happens to be reading 30 minutes a day, whatever you want to get yourself to do, first thing you need is purpose. You need that purpose. It's not just intellectual purpose, because a lot of people don't know intellectually why they should buy something or read something or work out.
Or do the burpees.
Exactly. But you need to feel it though. Like I saw somebody recently who totally transformed. Like he was not healthy for the longest time, and we did interventions, and he just wouldn't change his lifestyle. And one day he's a heart attack, almost dies. All his bypass surgery, everything. And he came out, went to his old lifestyle, unhealthy lifestyle. And then I see him years later, and he's like picture perfect health. I mean, he looks younger, he looks fit, he looks amazing. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's doing all the things, people suggested him to do for years. And I was like, well, what changed? You should have been doing that. And when he came home from a business trip, he saw his daughter, and his daughter was crying, had a nightmare, and found out that she thought she had a nightmare that he passed and wasn't there for, and he found purpose. And then he never faltered because it was an emotional thing. So I think it's important. I had, it's interesting. I have a friend who gets up at 4:30 every morning and he needs to work out. And I was like, wow, I mean, you must really love your morning person. He's like, no, I'm not a morning person. I'm like, well, you must really love working out. And he's like, no, I hate working out more than I hate getting up in the morning. And I'm like, but you get up, you work out every morning and I'm like, wow, you never miss it. No, because he has purpose. You know what I mean? And so it's so clear to him why he does it. And for me, I just feel amazing after I take an ice bath. I don't
Yeah.
in the beginning, but I love the results of it. And I think to be motivated, start with why. We're talking about Simon Sinek, for that reason, because we are not logical, we are biological. You think about dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, we're this feeling soup. People don't buy logically, they buy emotionally, right? So we're just emotional creatures. So that's purpose. And then after that, I'm thinking, if we're doing this thought experiment, will this person, if they have big enough purpose, always work out or always read? And I was like, no, they can be missing the E. The E stands for energy. And energy is like, if you have a newborn child and haven't slept in 3 nights, you're probably not going to work out. You feel like you're motivated to work out. Or if you had a big processed meal and you're in food coma, you're probably not going to want to study that 30 minutes and read, right? Or practice that.
Right.
You need energy. So in the book, I talk about sleep. I talk about the best brain foods. I talk about stress management, which saps your energy, handling energy vampires, all these different things. And then finally, if you have energy and purpose, will you always be motivated? And I was like, no, you could be missing one more thing. S3, 3 S's, small, simple steps. And I feel like a lot of people are motivated, even if they have purpose and they have some resources and energy. Even this happens at a micro level or a macro level. It can be your company, when you're thinking about energy, it can be resources, it can be different things. It could be also at a macro, national level in terms of where change is happening, motivated change. And this is the thing, some people are motivated because they have this goal that's just too big. It's just too abstract. It's like, right. I want to meet my soulmate and live happily ever after. I want to build 1 million followers on Instagram. I want to, do like whatever it is. I want to be able to have the perfect body, whatever. And so I think S3 is small, simple steps.
Mm-hmm.
And how you find your small, simple step is ask yourself this question: what is the tiniest action I could take right now that will give me progress towards this goal? So tiny I can't fail.
Yeah.
What is the tiniest action I could take to give me progress towards
baby steps.
Yeah. So instead of working out an hour a day, maybe that's too big for somebody who doesn't.
Maybe it's not 10 burpees. Maybe it's 1.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just, it's putting on your running shoes,
Right.
It's just something simple. Maybe it's reading 45 minutes a day. And I say 45 minutes a day because that's the average reader reads 200 words per minute. The average book has about 64,000 words. So if you divide those numbers, 320 words in minutes to get through a book, and you divide it by 7 days in a week, it's about 45 minutes a day, which is amazing. The average person only reads 2 or 3 books a year. And, when people see photographs on social media with me and Elon or Oprah or Bill Gates or anybody, it's like we bonded over books, our love of books, right? Because leaders are readers. But imagine that 52 books a year. You could have a PhD, a master's in anything.
Oh, 100%. It'd be insane.
Yeah. So, but for maybe 45 minutes, now we on average triple an executive entrepreneur's business reading speed. So they can do it in 15 minutes a day. That's why I'm thinking reading is the most incredible advantage and superpower, because we spend about 4 or 5 hours a day processing information.
Right.
Think about all the social media, the blogs, the business plans, books, everything, the news, everything we consume through written word. If we could just double our reading speed and cut that in half and save 2 hours a day, what's 2 hours a day over the course of a year? Or even 1 hour a day over the course of a year, 365 hours.
Yeah, no.
That's 9 40-hour work weeks, 2 months of productivity you get back saving 1 hour a day on something ubiquitous like reading. But maybe through your small, simple step, maybe 45 minutes a day is too much. Maybe your small, simple step is opening the book, or
Right.
reading one line in a book. And so we break it down. Maybe it's flossing we know flossing is good for your health, but maybe it's flossing one tooth, because no one's going to stop at one tooth, right?
Right. It's just like the little thing. And speaking of little things, we only have like 12 minutes left with you.
Yeah.
Very little time left. So, okay, I couldn't help myself. We're going to ask some quick questions.
Yeah. Quick questions.
Which is such a dad joke. I don't even care. I'm down with dad joke. So I will let Keith kick it off with the simplest, quickest question. Where'd you get your t-shirt?
So we sell these shirts at jimkwik.com. We donate.
Okay, Keith, you can get your own.
Yeah, we do it just to, again, to highlight brains. And we think if you're wearing your emotions on your sleeve, then you can wear your genius on your chest and be proud of your brain. But at gymkwik.com, and we make our own selection and we rotate them out, and yeah.
I love it. Okay, here's another quick one. I got a DM from Tara before we got on, and it's kind of twofold. Tara asked this, but then Jeff asked something similar on the other side of the spectrum. Tara asked, what can we do with young children ages 1 to 4 to help facilitate future learning? And then kind of on the other end of the spectrum, Jeff had texted asking thoughts on prevention of Alzheimer's and dementia. So like young people, old people.
Let's just do this. And so these are the things I'm really passionate about. And I'm working with children and working with seniors because I had my learning challenges I had 3 traumatic brain injuries before the age of 12. So very passionate about working with children. And we're doing these actually live group tutorings for the first time twice a week to help with the school situation, because we don't want what's going on with school to get in the way of a child's education. And so in terms of helping brain development, and there's a bonus chapter in Limitless about Limitless for children. When people go to limitlessbook.com, I hope that's okay to say. We did a bonus chapter.
100%. I downloaded it. I bought it.
Limitlessbook.com, you can get a bonus chapter for Limitless for kids and Limitless for your team, applying it towards a learning organization. Okay, so the things that are important for a child, same thing as an adult. So I'll group them together and I'll get more specific. A good brain diet, what you eat matters, especially for your gray matter, for your children, especially in the beginning. And I'll tell you more about that. But the avocados, blueberries, broccoli, olive oil.
Leafy greens. Yeah, I remember that from the book.
Kale and spinach, very, very good. The negative self-talk has a big role to play also. Now, I teach this at the Cleveland Clinic Center for Brain Health, and they endorse the book also as well, and to their caregivers and their patients. So the whole spectrum, that inner self-talk. And the thing is for a child, monitor your external words, because when I was 9 years old, I was slowing down my class. I was being teased for it, and a teacher came to my defense actually, but all I remember her saying is pointing to me in front of the whole class and saying, "That's the boy with the broken brain." And that's all I remembered. That her external words became my internal words. So be very conscious of your external words, because I would always say I'm broken all the time as a kid when I wasn't picked for sports or did well in school. So monitor self-talk, because your brain is like a supercomputer and your self-talk is a program that will run. So if you say you're not good at remembering names, you won't remember the name of the next person you meet, because you program a supercomputer not to. That's number 2 for kids. So monitor your self-talk around them. Number 3 is exercise. As your body moves, your brain grows. When you move, it doesn't matter your age or stage in life. So this is for both of them. When you move, you create brain-derived neurotropic factors, which are BDNF, which is like fertilizer for your brain. And so it's so important to move for children to learn how to crawl, because that's where they develop connections between our left and right brain. So movement is so key. And so always move. Number 4, brain nutrients. And this is, if I always prefer you get your nutrients from your food, go to a functional medicine doctor, talk to a health practitioner, get some work done, see if you're nutrient, if you don't have adequate levels, because they can affect. I can teach someone a great speed reading technique, but if they don't have DHA and they don't have the vitamin E, vitamin B, certain things that are neuroprotective, you're not going to be going at optimal. Number 5, a positive peer group. So who we spend time with is who we become. We know whether someone's retired or a child. It's like we have something called mirror neurons, and we tend to imitate the people around us, especially children. It's not what you say, it's what you do, right? And the mirror neurons is the empathy. And so we start imitating the language, the body posture, the habits, everything about people around us. So it's not just your neurological networks, it's your social networks. And then clean environment. So your external world is a reflection of your internal world. So, keep it stimulating for both seniors and children, but also clean, because, when you clean your laptop, you clean your office, you have clarity of just thought, and so make sure you do that. Recondo your mind. Right. That would be number 6. Number 7, sleep. And that's kind of self-explanatory for children and for adults and seniors. We talked about that. And number 8, brain protection. Protect your kid's brain. I had 3 accidents, really bad ones, and it left me, with a series of learning challenges, processing issues. So wear a helmet and be careful. Extreme sports and stuff. And then finally, new learnings in stress management. New learnings, meaning that with children especially and adults, the 2 biggest declines we see in cognitive performance when somebody graduates school because maybe they aren't using their mind as much. And when they retire, it's time they
Mm.
retire their mind, and their body's not far behind. And so I would say with children, keep them, the novelty is so important. You build your brain through novelty and nutrition. And so this whole area of study called the neuroplasticity, and with children, especially in the beginning, is when their brain is still forming, those formable time is to give them enough stimulus, and then see where their passion goes, and then encourage that curiosity and that creativity and so forth. And then stress management, because chronic stress shrinks your brain, which is a challenge. And then chronic fear, by the way, so monitor what you're watching on the news and everything, you know, because we're, you know, if it bleeds, it leads, and our amygdala is always getting hijacked what's threatening and scary. The challenge is chronic fear actually makes you more susceptible to colds, to flus, to viruses, whole area of science called psychoneuroimmunology. And so stand guard to your mind, because there's an algorithm to social media, you know, whatever you engage with, they give you more of. Same thing with your mind. Whatever you engage with more, it has an algorithm. It's going to show you more of it. And if you're just looking at everything that's dark, scary, threatening, you don't have enough bandwidth to focus on gratitude, opportunity, possibility, and everything else.
Well, and I feel like the stress is also so important right now because like high Zoom learning, highly stressful. I mean, I'm not a parent, but all my friends who have kids, I'm like, send the troops. I mean, really, that is.
Yeah, we're happy to do some of the lifting for that for parents who have children ages 9 to 18. But I feel you. Everyone needs a little bit of help. This is unprecedented. So remote learning, be able to maximize that, your focus, your memory.
Okay, what is one thing that every single person should try this week?
This week?
Show breathing exercise, toothbrush in the other hand, but like, what should everybody try this week?
Yeah. So I would say, I just mentioned these 10 things. Hopefully people wrote them down. I would rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10. And so how good your diet, 0 to 10, because the worst things for your brain are processed foods, sugar and stuff. But 0 to 10, how well you're doing. Negative thoughts, 0 to 10, how well you're doing. Exercise, 0 to 10, you know, and then literally go through that list. Nutrition, positive peer group, your clean environment, 0 to 10, your sleep, 0 to 10, brain protection.
Like a self-assessment, basically.
And I would focus on the thing that, because you could do all of this and not sleep, then I would say go to sleep, because and prioritize that, you know, go put some energy and attention to it, because you could do all this and be around energy vampires that just, I think people are batteries included, but some people batteries not included, and they just steal all your batteries, steal all your energy. But that could hold you back from everything else that you learn. And but if you had to go to one thing, I would say commit to reading 30 minutes a day. It'll change your life. It's something I would rather go a day without eating than a day without actually feeding my mind. You know, something powerful, and getting that exercise. I'd had that. We're fortunate. Will Smith did the cover quote for our book, but I did an Instagram video. I was like, what are 2 things you do to keep, you know, just to win? And he's like, I run and I read. I do something physical and I do something mental every single day, because you have to exercise that and keep fit mentally and physically. And I think do something physical, do something mental. It's so important.
It's huge. And I feel like that lays perfectly into, okay, so what is one, whether it's a book or maybe it's a resource, a newsletter, or a podcast that you yourself learn from?
Yeah. Okay.
Which is hard, because I feel like you're usually the one giving the knowledge, but where do you get the knowledge?
Well, first of all, we would join you on LinkedIn and Facebook and do coffee with you on a regular. So that I've enjoyed past series and episodes. So thank you for that. And so where do people get their inspiration? Because you need 3 things. You need the mindset, right? Of, do I believe what's possible? What do I believe I'm capable of? What I believe I deserve? So something like that. I also need motivation. So in the area of purpose, energy, small, simple habits, things you could do. And then the methods. A lot of people have the mindset and they have the motivation, but they're using old methods of negotiating. They're using old methods of startups, you know, of funding. They're using old methods of investing, old methods of hiring, old methods of reading, old methods of remembering. So the methodology is important. And so I would say, find a mentor in that area that help you discover and develop those superpowers. And I think the ultimate superpower for everybody is learning how to learn. Like, think about it. If there was a genie who could grant you any one wish, but only one wish, what would you wish for? Limitless wishes. But if I was your learning genie, I could help you master any one subject or skill. What's the equivalent asking for limitless wishes? learning how to learn, because you
Totally. Well, somebody asked me earlier this week, like, oh, about Jim. And I was like, he teaches people how to learn.
Yeah.
Like, that sort of sums it up.
You have that superpower. If you could focus, remember, apply, read, all that, you could apply it towards money, management, marketing, martial arts, music, Mandarin, everything in your life gets easier. And I would say learning how to learn. And so, and, if it's not Limitless or our podcast, obviously, or our audiobook or anything that we put out there, our academy and everything, I would say, they're fundamental books like The Magic of Thinking Big, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, all these classic books that are timeless, have been around for decades. Psycho-Cybernetics, Man's Search for Meaning, all these amazing books. And then also indulge in your Harry Potters and your fun reading, because that's great also for your creativity and your EQ.
Well, and I feel like I have to do a shameless, selfish plug for your podcast, because one thing that I love so much about your podcast that a lot of podcasts don't do, and I have a whole new respect for now, is your podcasts are sometimes 15 minutes, 12 minutes. And I don't know if everybody understands, like, I am trying so hard where I'm like, okay, I have to get Jim. It's been an hour. He has other things to do.
Yeah.
Like, when you are talking to someone, and you have some big names on that podcast, by the way, to distill that. Like, I have trouble distilling this in 55 minutes, that I'm like, I love the podcast. And I'm like, I don't know how he does that. Obviously, on the other end, you have Tim Ferriss, who sometimes podcasts can be 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Ours, to be so Tim's is very long form, very guest driven. Mine's more focused on no advertising, 15, 20 minutes max, because it's quick. It has to be quick and bite sized. It has to be very practical. And so I help distill the guest information, or I teach an episode on how to remember names. How do you change your habits? What are the best brain foods? How do you remember a TED talk without, from in a fraction of the time? How do you learn a language? All that fun stuff.
But it's so quick. I'm like, guys, like, it is so hard. Like, that in and of itself, distilling. I mean,
I'm just trying to be appreciative also of people's time, because everyone's busy, and our attention span tends to dip after about 20 minutes. There's something called the Pomodoro technique, where it says study or work in 20, 25-minute intervals, because after that, there's a fallout, of concentration, and take a little break and come back and, resume your focus and getting that flow state. But yeah, I just, people go to kwikbrain.com, kwikbrain.com. I would actually, can I challenge everyone to do something real quick?
We love challenges.
Yeah, okay. Can we screenshot this conversation right now and post it, and tag Kim, tag myself, post on your favorite LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, wherever it is, and share one thing that you're going to do to improve your brain today. Like, what's one thing you could do? Prioritizing your sleep, have some guacamole, just be conscious of more of your self-talk, because so many people come to me and say, like, they say, "Hi, Jim, I have a horrible memory. I'm getting too old." I say, stop. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. So maybe it's monitoring your self-talk. Maybe you say, "I have a great memory." You had the little word "yet" at the end, or something simple like that. So what's one thing? So screenshot this, tag us both, post it, share one thing you learned from this conversation, or one thing that you're going to do differently to love your brain. And I'll repost some of my favorites, and I'll actually gift a copy of my new book, Limitless, to a couple people, just as a thank you for doing that, for playing. Because I think the best way of learning something is by teaching it to somebody else. So when you post it and you share it, and your followers, your fans, your friends, your family gets to see it, maybe you'll inspire them to also love their brain.
Oh, you finished. Like, drop the mic. That was amazing. I don't know what else we could say. Like, that just not only inspired the rest of my Wednesday, but like the rest of my week. So, like, done. I'm so excited. Jim, thank you times a million for joining and imparting all of your wisdom and your kindness and your grace on us. I so appreciate it. Everybody so appreciates it. Thank you. Can
I say one last thing?
Yes.
Everybody is just don't, the biggest mistake people are making right now is they're downgrading their dreams to meet this current situation. I would encourage you, not downgrade your dreams to meet this current situation. What I want you to do is expand your mindset, your motivation, the methods that you're using to be able to meet those dreams, your destiny, if you will. And when you're talking about the rest of the week, I just hope may you sleep easy tonight, knowing that you can handle anything this week throws at you. May you wake up with your mind energized and your heart inspired for a new day. May you move in the direction of your dreams. May you discover beauty and gratitude in those small moments. And may you laugh, may you love, may you learn. And Kim, thank you so much for
thank you so much.
And for allowing us to do our mission even better. Our mission is really to build better, brighter brains. No brain left behind is our goal. So thank you.
And you are accomplishing it, my dear, one step at a time. So a big cheers from Austin, Texas, from me to you. Have an amazing rest of the day. And everyone else, have a great rest of the week. And we look forward to seeing your challenges.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.